Welcome, Motenta people. The sparkling lights, beauty, glamour, and the movie stars. Guess what we're talking about? Of course, the golden age of Hollywood. It was the era when audiences could not get enough of the endless movies being produced by the filmmakers. And yes, there was also unforgettable talent on the silver screen during that period. One singer, dancer, and actor who gave her exceptional glow in the golden age is the subject of this video, and Ginger Rogers was her name. Is Ginger Rogers' ghost still haunting? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Motenta's channel. Ginger Rogers, much more than Fred Astaire's dance partner. Ginger Rogers was an American film star, dancer, and actress who captivated the public's attention with her energy, grace, and hard effort, and mainly when she danced with Fred Astaire. She had a 3-decade acting career, but Fred Astaire's dancing partner is what people will remember her for most. She enjoyed a wonderful showbiz career throughout her life, acting in numerous TV series and films from the 1930s through the late 1980s. Have you ever seen a film starring Ginger Rogers? Which other Golden Age actors are your favorites? Many people today still recognize Rogers as a talented performer. Today, Ginger Rogers is known as one of the most loved stars from the Golden Age, but most people don't know about her struggles, and most interestingly, her haunted house in Missouri. In this video, we'll talk about each and everything about Ginger Rogers' life, from her early childhood all the way until the time when her spirit started haunting people after her death. Yes, you heard it right. So keep watching till the end. On July 16, 1911, Virginia Catherine McMath was born in Missouri and became Ginger Rogers. She was Leila Owens and Eddins McMath's child. Shortly after her birth, her parents split up and custody was questioned. Even taking Ginger without her mother's consent was something that her father did. Her father passed away when she was 11 years old, and her mother eventually won custody of her. In Kansas City, Missouri, Ginger and her mother moved into Leila's parents' house. For several years, Ginger lived with her grandparents, while her mother visited Hollywood to pursue a career as a scriptwriter. Virginia was mispronounced by Ginger's younger cousins, who continued to refer to her as Ginger, which stuck with her. When Ginger was 9 years old, her mother wed John Logan Rogers. Though Ginger used his last name, she never legally adopted it. Texas Fort Worth was home to the family. Her mother started writing theater reviews for a local newspaper. Surprisingly, acting was not Ginger's major goal. She always wanted to be a teacher instead. Regardless, Ginger would be exposed to the theater and Hollywood because of her mother. When she was barely a teenager, she started her career. She won a Charleston competition when she was 14 years old, on November 9, 1915 in Dallas, and went on a 5-week tour with Interstate Time, a Southwest theater company. Rogers decided to leave the idea of becoming a teacher. She soon began singing and dancing in vaudeville acts. When she was performing in Dallas, she got a pleasant surprise backstage. It was Jack Culpepper, a musician. Jack was not only her aunt's ex-boyfriend, but also Rogers' crush for years. Of course, she was overjoyed to see him, but guess what she did? Just a few weeks later, she got married to him, much to her mother's displeasure. Do you think it was an impulsive decision? Of course it was, and soon she realized. As Ginger wrote in her autobiography that she had not touched that level of maturity at that time, despite being part of the entertainment industry for years. She said that she had never spent private time with a man, and maintaining feelings for Jack during all those years was enough to convince her that she was in love with him. Little did she know that it was just infatuation. Their marriage didn't last long, and after a quick divorce, she was again focused on her career. It was December 1929 when she performed on Broadway for the first time in Top Speed. Rogers was selected as the lead actor in the George Gershwin musical Girl Crazy, which premiered on Broadway in 1930. During its 45-week run, Rogers received a salary of $1,000 per week. Its makers hired dancer Fred Astaire during musical performances to strengthen the choreography. In addition to the 8 Broadway performances she was compelled to perform each week, she also made films and occasionally performed at the Blue Angel. She was barely able to get 5 hours of sleep due to her busy schedule, yet she still found time for one date with Astaire. To the tunes of Eddie Duchin, The two went dancing at the casino in Central Park. Rogers accepted a deal with RKO and departed for the West Coast in June 1931, before a romance could bloom. Then by 1933, it was apparent that Rogers would do well for her work in Hollywood. Although she had previously acted in short films, her performances in 42nd Street and Gold Diggers of 1933 that year drew the attention of both viewers and filmmakers. Flying Down to Rio, which was released in 1933, marked her true breakthrough. RKO had cast Astaire, who had just landed in Hollywood, for a role in the movie. He needed a partner for a quick dance performance, so he said, "How is Ginger Rogers doing? She's here, isn't she?" Studio executives promptly recalled her after lending her to Paramount. The Rogers-Astaire performance, The Carioca, was so widely appreciated that the producers decided to reshoot the scene to include her in the plot, despite their initial concerns about whether full-length dances would appeal to moviegoers. Dolores Del Rio and Gene Raymond were the headliners of the show, and the two were supporting characters, but they continued a stunning dancing partnership. With her dancing partner, Fred Astaire, Rogers enjoyed tremendous success during the rest of the 1930s. Together, they appeared in a number of movies, including Top Hat and Follow the Fleet. As late as 1949, Rogers and Astaire partnered on music and dancing for films. Rogers also made a statement regarding her well-liked dance partner. "True, we were never close friends off the screen. We were different people with different interests. But we had fun, and it reflects. We were solely a couple, but only on camera. I'd do 3 or 4 pictures between those I made with Fred. We were not exactly alike. I've always wanted to expand out and take on some solo projects." She practiced on Sundays and holidays, spent many evenings recording her songs, and stood through fittings some nights after midnight. She was married to Lew Ayres, who was her favorite of her 5 husbands. The fact that both husband and wife had different schedules caused their marriage to fail. And do you know what she did after her marriage ended? She built a home on the highest point overlooking Beverly Hills in 1938. She also purchased a ranch on the Rogue River close to Medford, Oregon. Her house had a tennis court, a projection room, and a soda fountain because she didn't drink alcohol. It sounds like a dream house, right? Not surprisingly, this was also one of the things for which she became famous. Indeed, Rogers' sense of competition was evident in everything she ever did. She was also recognized as one of Hollywood's top amateur athletes. Friends dubbed her Champ because she consistently defeated guys at bowling, tennis, and ping pong. She also took satisfaction in the fact that she loved to do painting on Sundays, calling it the only authentic way she could relieve stress after a hectic performance. How talented was she? Though Ginger Rogers is still remembered as Fred Astaire's dance partner, it was not enough to satisfy her. She was anxious to prove her talent as a dramatic actor by doing so. She begged to play Queen Elizabeth I opposite Hepburn in Mary, Queen of Scots, despite being RKO's top star. She performed her audition in costume while using a false name to convince director John Ford that she was competent to carry it off. Press coverage of her stunt ended in studio bosses deciding that the irate Elizabeth would not fit her persona. Hepburn, who challenged Rogers for the title of the most prominent star at RKO, co-starred with Rogers. Executives assumed that Stage Door, a film about ambitious actors in a New York boarding home, would fix Hepburn's career because she had just performed in a string of failed movies. According to her own words, the 1937 movie Stage Door was a turning point in her career because it provided her the chance to prove her acting skills for the first time. Along with Hepburn and Rogers, other lead actors in the movie included Andrea Leeds, Eve Arden, and Ball. Much of the dialogue in the film, which director Gregory LaCava adapted from the stage play by Edna Ferber and George S. Kaufman, was based on the characters' personality types, Hepburn's patricians, and Rogers' easygoing nature. Rogers admired Andrea Leeds and gave positive remarks. She said this is the first time that she had to be more than simply a gorgeous face for the camera. She had to be pleasant and overall nice, with a personality that would look best while performing. Even though it was Andrea Leeds who won an Oscar for the Best Supporting Actress, Rogers didn't feel jealous. She cherished her role instead and wrote in her book, "I just love being called an actor." Doesn't she sound really selfish here? But thankfully at one point, she realized that she was being undervalued most of the time. Despite being a top earner at RKO, Rogers believed that the studio underestimated her. This was especially evident when Mark Sandrich, who directed the first Rogers Astaire movies, tried to suggest that she take acting, singing, and dancing lessons. Rogers admitted that she earned less money than Astaire, but she also claimed that the character performers, Edward Everett Horton and Victor Moore, made twice the money each week. According to the New York Times, Ginger Rogers was a better dancer than most people realized. Although she did indulge in many romantic drools, her footwork was just as perfect as Astaire's. Astaire acknowledged that Rogers was the only one of his dancing partners, who later included Judy Garland and Lucille Bremer, who did not cry during practicing. Ginger Rogers danced with love, with pleasure in the beauty of an illusion, and with one of the most splendid dancers' bodies imaginable, Arlene Croce wrote in 1972. She was cautious not to imply effort or insufficiency. Cartoonist Bob Thave summed up her excellence in a remark from his strip, Frank and Ernest, that many others have since used. He designed a cartoon with a skinny woman, 2 untidy males, and a banner for a Fred Astaire Film Festival. The woman complains to the males, "Sure, he was fantastic, but don't forget about that Ginger Rogers who did everything he did, backward and in high heels." So now it was time to prove that she can earn more than anyone else. While Rogers' early films were mainly comedies and love stories, she took a different direction during most of the 1940s. She began to appear in films with greater drama. In 1941, she got an Academy Award for her performance in Kitty Foyle. In 1945, Rogers managed to earn $292,150, making her the highest-paid Hollywood celebrity and the 8th highest earner in the country in general. Leela, her mother, joined the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideas to combat communist infiltration of Hollywood as a key member until then. In her 1943 film Tender Comrade, Ginger herself had voiced displeasure over dialogue that had taken on a communist turn. She opposed it when the producer said, "Share and share alike," as he gave speeches like that to other people too. In July 1951, Ginger Rogers turned 40. Her cinematic career gradually started to fade due to a variety of factors, including her advancing age and the rise of television. In 1951, she returned to Broadway in Love and Let Love, illustrating her perseverance once again. The run went on for a month. She met 25-year-old Biarritz lawyer Jacques Bergerac while on holiday in France. They got married and he appeared as her co-star in the film Twist of Fate. The film was released as Beautiful Stranger in 1954, and the couple ended their marriage in 1957. From 1961 to 1967, she was married to producer William Marshall. For many years, Rogers kept making cameos in movies and plays. According to a lot of Hollywood historians, the golden age ended in the 1960s. In 1987, she did her final part in a hotel episode. In 1991, Rogers launched an autobiography. She was given a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Kennedy Center in 1992. Reviewers praised her lengthy career to her dialectic personality, which allowed her to be both rough and vulnerable, cunning and calculating, and gifted at mimicking and expression, as Peter B. Flint highlighted in her obituary in the New York Times. At her Rancho Mirage, California home, Ginger Rogers passed away on April 25, 1995. Though Ginger Rogers passed away in 1995, it seems that her ghost is still wandering her childhood home, transforming it into a true haunted house. Marge Paget, the new owner of Ginger Rogers' childhood home, claims to have actually seen what she believes to be the late actress's spirit. That sounds interesting. Marge Paget recently spoke candidly to Closer Weekly Sunday about the paranormal events in the home and said, "I was standing in the room she was born in, and I felt this presence. I saw a foggy mist turning into a woman in a prom dress that looked like Ginger." The good news is fans will have the golden chance to confirm Paget's statement, which many people find absurd, because Paget said that in an effort to preserve Rogers' Hollywood legacy, she planned to convert her former residence into a museum. She believes that by taking this step, Ginger's spirit is content. She claimed that Ginger's spirit had a pleasant expression on her face, and she sensed that she was pleased that we were doing this. We're not sure if we should consider this to be really creepy or awesome. In either case, we are definitely curious to find out more. Her followers will surely be in for a treat when they go to her childhood house, if her spirit actually does reside there. So are you ready to visit that museum? If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Ginger's spirit may live on, but one thing is for sure. Natalie Wood's soul probably can't rest either. How Natalie Wood left Hollywood's biggest mystery behind. Watch this video and find out.